I am a lesbian mom. And people sometimes still like to ask me, how did you do that exactly? This is how my daughter was conceived 30 years ago. When Eric and I first met, she made it very clear that she wanted to have a child. And I had never really thought about this as a possibility. But here was a chance to parent without giving birth. Erica also had some ideas about sperm donor dads, which was no small thing. So eventually Michael, a longtime friend, agrees to be sperm donor dad. And he doesn't want to be an active parent, which is perfect because Eric and I will be. Very importantly, Michael lives just a few doors down the street from us, which is critical because when the time is right, you've got to move quickly. So when Erica's temperature indicated that her egg had dropped, I called up Michael. He ejaculated into a sterilized glass jar, brought it over. My job was to put the sperm into a needleless syringe, not a turkey baster because they're way too big, and then insert it into Erica. It took 9 months, and people are incredulous. You mean that worked? Like, well, sure. I mean, all the ingredients are there. But it's true that once you remove reproduction from the physical sex act, people think that it must necessarily be clinical and complicated, which sometimes it is, but not always. Dr. Mock is introduced to us as a lesbian-friendly doctor. It's more like he's non-judgmental and kind of indifferent, which for 1993 is fine. In the delivery room, Michael and I are there, and in classic fashion, Dr. Mock sweeps in at the end and catches our baby daughter, and he takes the scissors to cut the umbilical cord, and he gives them over to Michael. I'm like, geez, you missed the story. But I look at Michael, and Michael looks at me, and I'm like, this is moving way too quickly, so go ahead. So he snips the cord, and it is beautiful. A few days later, Eric and I take our newborn baby daughter, August, home. It's summertime, and Erica is tired and sore. So in between breastfeeding, I put August into a sling, and I go out for a walk in the neighborhood. And I get so much attention. I am seen in a totally different way. People, strangers, want to peek inside the sling. I am interacting so much. And when I'm out with her alone, I am mom. When Eric and I are out together, it's different. People look at the baby, they look at us. Who's the mom? We both are. Some people react with, cool. Others are like confused and retreat. Still others push it a bit, like, well, okay, but who gave birth? Who's the real mom? The mid-1990s are early days for out lesbian motherhood. A birth mom, easy to understand. A non-birth mom, are you like the stepmom? Are you like an auntie? Or worse, are you a babysitter? Honestly, in the first few months, I felt more like a dad. Nothing physically had happened to my body, and the connection between a breastfeeding mother and child is really intense. And interestingly, a couple of my male friends who were having babies really wanted to talk to me about being a dad. The other thing in the mid-1990s was that there was a cultural shift in lesbian visibility. Dykes were so in. Ellen DeGeneres came out on primetime TV. Newsweek magazine had a cover article about lesbian life. And we were living quite an out life in Montreal. I was doing a radio show called Dykes on Mics. It is a very good name. And our little unit became the go-to family for media stories about kinship and chosen families and how do lesbians have children anyway? So on the one hand, there's all this visibility. On the other hand, there's still this Legal invisibility. I'm a non-biological mom, so I can't really make any legal decisions about our daughter's education or health care. And even though Michael wasn't on the birth certificate, he still had more parental legal rights than I did. My biggest fear was that something would happen to Eric and I would have to rush August to the hospital, but I wouldn't really even be allowed to make any decisions or even be with her because I wasn't a legal parent. And I didn't think about that too much because these were the circumstances. I had to have trust. And this was put to the test when Eric and I split up when August was 3 years old. And on top of the personal pain was also this sense of failing our family, failing our community. We were model lesbian parents, we were pioneers, and it felt like we had to be twice as good to be as good as straight parents. And splitting up, we had to do that 3 times better than anyone else. In 2002, in Quebec, August is 8 years old, and there's a major turning point in the fight for queer rights. Same-sex civil unions are legally recognized, and legislation to protect the rights of non-biological parents. The law saw me and said, "You too are a mother." Within 2 months, we were holding in our hands a revolutionary legal document, a birth certificate with 2 mothers listed as the legal parents. My name was on the birth certificate. We may have been living an out life in our queer community, but having a kid means coming out over and over again in all these straight places. Daycares, schools, clinics, the playground. Did this legal document make me feel a little braver about coming out during a parent-teacher interview? Yeah, it did. A law doesn't mean that you're immune from people's discrimination or judgment, but this really mattered. This mattered to us, this mattered to me. I needed my name on that birth certificate, and I'll never take that for granted. Thank you.